Is this? Oh shit! These niggas ain't here. uh, Good afternoon, or evening, or morning, listeners. It is your favorite Fed, Mr. Smith. Don't need to have a long intro because, well, we kind of snuck in the studio here. Brother X and Culture Scientist left me the keys, so kind of broken a little bit. But just here on this wonderful evening, just wanted to bring a little joy to you. But I'm not here alone. I got my fun sister. I'm not gonna do what Brother X does because I'm not an asshole like him. But got my fun sister, Queen C. Queen C, introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, brother X, how you feel knowing I was with your girl all weekend?
Sheesh.
Mm.
Anyway, it's your girl Queen C, 61 and a half inches of fluff and fun. And in this episode, Fury. We're going to talk about it though, y'all.
Well, listeners, let's go ahead and just we're not. It's going to be kind of a just a hodgepodge. We're just having conversation. We just cutting up at this point. So get your
Yep.
popcorn. It's gonna be fun. Anywho, let's start with the mental health check. Queen C, how's your mentals doing right now?
My mentals are fantastic. I spent the weekend with the bridesmaid and the brides for Brother X's and Culture Science's wedding coming up. So Bachelorette weekend was a blast. Shout out to all the ladies that showed up. We had us a time.
Boy, we had a time last night. Boy, we had a time last night.
That's all I can say. Tampa, thank you. You treated us very well. We love you for it. And it may end up being another bonus episode. You never know.
Ooh. Exclusive. So yeah, listeners, we're gonna continue on, and for me, I'm just I'm in a good spot. I mean, this past weekend, as the time of this recording, oh boy, this was a this was a fun time, I will say. Me and Teacher Bay went to the R&B, the set and R&B experience, and listen, from the time that we got in the door to the time that we were leaving, that DJ couldn't miss. I mean, he hit all the hits. So it was a good time to have some good adult fun. That tequila kind of snuck up on a brother. So that Sunday we was kind of out. Well, at least I can say for myself, I was hurt. Teacher Bay was okay. But just staying low, staying clean, and just trying to get through the rest of this season, get through the rest of August, and get ready for this fall season to come up. But speaking of fall seasons, I'm gonna just go ahead. I'm gonna just go ahead and hit my music. Okay, so a couple things happened since we last talked, listeners. Going into boxing, there was this big fight where Terrence Crawford went against Errol Spence. And listeners, when I tell you, Terrence Crawford beat the absolute brakes off of Errol Spence. Like, Bud, whoop that nigga's ass. Like, I call it what it is. Like, woof. That was an interesting fight. So, Bud is looking pretty good. I mean, he had good reach. He knew how to counterpunch when needed, and it looked lopsided. Like, just calling it what it is. So, I'll be looking forward to his next fight, whoever he decides to choose, as well as whenever Tank and Shakur Stevenson try to fight as well. Moving on to the NBA, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually pretty shocked about this. Anthony Davis. Yes, listeners, glass vase, Anthony Davis signed a 3-year extension worth, I believe it's 186 million dollars, which is literally his first contract with the Lakers was her 5-year 180 million. So it's like you're getting that over 3 years for an average value of $62 million a year. Is like, so are you gonna be healthy for all these years? Because LeBron, I mean, I'd understand if he was to get that. Okay. I would understand if Austin Reeves, kind of, maybe, yes, no, I don't know. But you, and then on top of that, you're not consistent. Some days you're 30 and 20. Other days you're 10 and 8, 10 points, 8 rebounds. I don't understand. Yes, Queasy.
To answer your question on whether or not he's gonna stay healthy, the answer is hell no. I told y'all that nigga graduated from Derrick Rose's School of Injury. He is a professional stuntman.
I can't let Derrick Rose catch these strays, man. He was a beast. I can't let him catch those strays.
Yeah, he was a beast when he was healthy, but how often was he healthy?
I mean, them first years in Chicago, he was good. It just once he messed up his knee in the playoffs, it was downhill from there. Still a beast though. But I agree with you. Moving on to the World Cup, and in a shocking turn of events, the United States women's national team lost in the round of 16 to, I believe it's Sweden, via penalty kicks, which a couple of them penalty kicks was, I mean, whoa, them joints was wide. Like, I get it if you hit the bar, I get it if the person stopped you, but them kicks was wide. So, I mean, it's weird to see how the people are turning on the United States women's national team, mainly because of Megan Rapinoe and her stance on LGBTQIA plus rights, as well as like what she stands on as far as equal pay for national spotlight versus with the women versus men's team, where the women have been dominating for years. The men, honestly, I haven't heard them get out the round of 32 in a minute. So we'll see how that plays on. I know there was a couple people that said they were going to call it a career, but we'll talk more about that when we come back in season 4. And then finally, in the NFL news, training camp is really ramping up, and Joe Burrow, Mr. Joe Shiesty, was injured via calf injury in training camp, and he might be sidelined for the first portion of the season, and that's a big deal, not only for the Bengals team, but also for fantasy football players, because Jamar Chase is awesome. Is he going to be awesome with a backup quarterback? We don't know. Yes, Quincy.
I would just like to point out Joe Burrow has graduated from Tom Brady's School of Injury for NFL players.
I got nothing. I literally have nothing for that. I wanted to say something. I was like, nah.
Did I lie?
You didn't. You're
Okay.
Right. You're right. You did. So we're gonna look forward to that. Also, within this break, me and Teacher Bay got to see our Ravens in training camp practice. And granted, it is training camp, but I will say I'm impressed. They look good. Lamar has a zip on his ball. Odell looks like old Odell for now. Make sure I put the discrepancy. I am a Ravens fan, but I'm a realist for now. And the defense looks great. So this season to me is kind of an all-in season. Like, we need to make some serious noise. And especially with Lamar getting his contract, Roquan getting his contract, and we know Odell's going to want a new contract before the end of, if not before the end of this season, by the time all season rolls around, we need to do something serious for, So I'll be looking forward to that. And especially for my fantasy football leagues, it's going to get testy. We're going to see what's going to happen. But if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, or if you want to learn more about the NFL, hit up my boy Red Wolf on his YouTube and his Instagram. His links will be in the description below. Okay, so listeners, me and Queen C were perusing the Twitter streets when we happened to come across a story that I'm sure all of you have heard of by now. And if not, you're going to hear about it today. This story out of Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, to be precise. And in this story, there's a ferry boat that's doing a tour, and they wanted to dock at the port or at the dock. but there was a small little, I guess pontoon boat or whatever, that was blocking where they were supposed to be docking at, and it was owned by these white folks. So one of the crew members on the ferry boat hopped off and was trying to derope the pontoon boat so that way the boat could float off, and the ferry boat could dock. Well, the white people that owned that pontoon boat decided to get into this guy's face and try to jump him. Listeners, when I tell you this man threw his hat like Bobby Shmurda, and you would have thought it was the freaking bat signal for niggas. In the beginning, he's getting jumped by, I'm counting at least, 5 white people and 2 white women. And they thought, oh, okay, yeah, we just gonna jump this man and, whatever. They're all over him, right? So a black person comes in and tries to intervene. And, hey, y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop and do all that. But then comes a 60-year-old, which Queen C will definitely help me out with the name when it comes to time. But there comes a 60-year-old who literally jumped off the ferry and swam to the dock to help out the crew member. And I mean, listeners, this boy swam for a hot minute, came up, took his shoes off, and pulled his pants up like, who want to do this? Now, of course, the white people did what they needed to do and tried to walk off like nothing happened. Like, yeah, we did that. What they didn't realize was that boat was going to dock. And when it docked, listen, it turned up. I'm talking, their crew members ran off that thing like they heard Back That Ass Up come on in a club. It was a massacre. And I'm talking shirts off. What you want to do, nigga? What you want to do? They squatted up on this man's boat and then just started throwing haymakers. And so then, one of the Karens of their group decides to try to fight off one of the guys. And as black men, we don't hit women as such. But there were 2 black crew members that were women that said, oh, we got hands for them. These hands are either E for everybody. And when I tell you, listeners, they mollywopped them Karens all the way from 3 ways to Sunday. So it continues on, and I'm talking like this brawl gets serious. Then comes, and listeners, if you went to HBCU or any type of college, you'll understand my feeling when I say this. Brothers of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, who decided to monkey stomp those white guys severely, including one person who has a chair. And listeners, I shit you not, this man came in like Jim Ross talking about some, oh my gosh, he broke a bit. Like this man was swinging this chair looking for damage. And this man is connecting with everybody that he is hitting. And me and Queen C kind of agreed. He was good for majority of the time until this one white lady got knocked on her butt. And this man literally cleaned her in the head with a chair. Now, there are cops standing around trying to be like, all right, let's there's a lot of tension. Let's try to disengage or whatever. And they were letting them go for a good minute. But as soon as they saw, they was like, nah, bro, you gotta go. And when I tell you this was now being called Bloody Sunday, I'm talking like they got names for everybody. It is a great time. So I'm going to kick it over to Queen C because I'm sure you got some words for this.
First of all, it's called chair tink. Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay. And yeah, he fucked up when he hit that white woman with that chair. She deserved it, but he shouldn't have done it. It should have been one of the women out there.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell y'all, this shit came at the perfect time because who's the country artist? Jason Aldean or whoever, the try that in a small town shit? Montgomery, Alabama. You're welcome. I'm just gonna sit that right there. But my favorite is the guy that got beat out his fucking Crocs. I ain't never seen no Crocs do no shit like that. Them joints look like they imploded. Like the fucking Titan submarine. Them joints, I mean, they turned them shits into the yabba dabba doos. But yeah, this is definitely one of the highlights from my weekend. Because when I say He threw that hat up and niggas ran from the top of the pier to help him. You could have swore it was Avengers Endgame. They came from the left. But going to what Mr. Smith was talking about, the 16-year-old who jumped off, the boat's name is the Big Harriet. But he jumped off and swam over. So here are your top 10 names given to that young black hero. Number 10, Aquaman. Number 9, 21 Tilapia.
Bruh.
Number 8, Tilapia. He could have at least been catfish. He gotta be like, I don't know. Number 8, Swimmy Turner.
Hey, yo.
Hey, you gotta give it to him.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's see. Number 7, Tarek Swimpatrick. If you know, you know.
Next.
Number 6, Catfish Cuz.
Oh, so you don't give him catfish on the other one, but you give him catfish on this.
You give him catfish on this one.
Okay.
Number 5, Johnny Gills. My. My personal favorite, number 4, Scuba Gooden Jr.
Yo. Hey, yo.
Number 3, Martavius Phelps. And the other one
What Martavius though?
I also saw Jamichael, which was fucking hilarious.
I'd rather been Jamichael than Martavius.
Number 2, Shaquille O'Gills.
Oh, bam.
And the one that is loved by all the Black community online, number 1, C Murder.
Yo, what? What?
Young King, we salute you. This is the first nigga to ever swim to a fight. I know he slept good that night. You swam to the fight, took your shoes off, knocked heads. Like, that's definitely 16-year-old energy. I swim for 2 seconds. I'm tired. He swam across the water and was whooping motherfuckers' asses.
Like,
God bless.
To the point where he's throwing haymakers and then rock bottom somebody who's got a whole 100 pounds on him after he's been swimming. It was ridiculous. But listeners, later on, it turns out that the authorities addressed what the brawl was. And, you know, as us Black folk, we realized, okay, we need to go ahead and get some defense attorney money and bail and stuff ready for these people, because we know white people are going, especially in Alabama, white people are going to take this sitting down. They're going to try to throw the book at these guys. But it turns out that this is what the authorities how the authorities addressed the brawl. The captain of the riverboat remained away from the dock for 40 to 45 minutes because the private boat was blocking. The owners of the boat confronted the co-captain of the riverboat, were obscene and aggressive, and the authorities were saying he was just doing his job. 13 people were detained but were ultimately released. Richard Roberts, 48, white male, has a warrant for assault in the 3rd degree. Alan Todd, white male, has 1 warrant pending. Zachary Shipman, 25, white male, has 1 warrant pending, and there are misdemeanor charges. All of the warrants are for the owners of the private boat. I'm going to repeat that again. All of the warrants are for the owners of the private boat. That means that all the warrants are for the white folks. As somebody who is 35, about to have 36 years on this earth, I ain't never seen something like this where only the white folks got the warrants. That is mind-blowing to me. 1 is in custody and 2 are set to turn themselves in. And of course, Reggie Gray, the man holding the folding chair, aka Chair McGee, is being asked to contact the police department.
That's Chariot Tubman.
2 points. Fist bump. 2 points. I'll give you that. That was good. The investigation is ongoing and more charges are likely. So it's not to say that the Black folks are out of the water yet. We're sure that there are going to be some that are going to get charged with maybe simple assault or some type of, misdemeanor or a small charge. But overall, the growing consensus is the white folks were at fault. And to the point where one of them literally got on, I think it was Snapchat or something like that. I mean, he looked like Terrence Crawford whooped his ass and was like, well, I guess they really were able to beat our ass. Like, nigga, what you think you was going to do? You had 5 people jump one black person. And then as Queen C said, nigga showed up like the Avengers. And I mean, like, that. It was to the point where one of the white people, to run away from them, jumped back in the water voluntarily. Like, I ain't never seen some shit like that. But
and then got his ass pulled out the water and whooped some more.
But it goes to show that this is one of the best things for black folks for 2 reasons. Number one, we got to see fuck around and find out energy from so many different angles. I mean, I ain't never seen so many angles of the chair swing. I ain't never seen so many angles of people squatting up on that boat. I ain't never seen so many angles of homeboys swimming to the dock. It is like black joy. But the second thing, remember, listeners, how we always say, you know, Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's calling itself nowadays, used to be a time where it was just unfiltered and Black Twitter gave just all the comedy. When I tell you that portion has been around now for like the past, I would say at the time of this recording, maybe the past 48 hours, it has been comedy gold. I'm talking remixes of songs. I'm talking apparel. I'm talking black people will make anything out of a joke, and that is how we get through with life. And it has been the funniest 48 hours I have had online. So I salute those folks. Number one, as black folks, you have now showed just a piece to those white people of, you are lucky we are not all standing together as one, because if we were, you would be scared of what we can do. They now have just seen a small glimpse of that. And that was just the niggas. Don't even get me started if there's people that actually can mess you up in the legal system as well as physical. Oh, shit would get wild. So we salute those folks for Bloody Sunday, a.k.a. Chair Mageddon, a.k.a. Fuck Around and Find Out.
Chair team.
We salute all those folks and keep these jokes coming, because it is
Fade in the water.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. That's the one I forgot. That was my favorite. Shout out to our homeboy, Kevin. Fade in the water was funny as hell. That was great. That was so great.
Fade in the water.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay, but we're going to move on to the other portion of our podcast where, like we said, listeners, this bonus episode, we got some stuff to get off our chest. Well, I'm going to listen for this part because there's somebody else that has some stuff to get off her chest. So, Queen C, the floor is yours.
It's a lot on my chest, figuratively and literally.
I was going to say pun intended.
Oh, always. So listeners, if you go listen back to some of the episodes of season 3, run those numbers up for my brother and my sister, you will hear that in some of my mental health checks, I was talking about a trip I was planning for my mother's 60th birthday, and a certain aunt that decided to invite herself along and take control. All right, so let me tell y'all about my Greek tragedy. Okay? Let me tell you something. My family, my friends will tell you, when I plan to a T. I had everything set. I had the flight. We were supposed to get off the flight, do a shuttle tour. From there, get to the cruise ship, set sail, have fun, come back. Not quite what happened. So we get to the airport on time, actually early, get through security just fine, go get some food, sit at the gate and wait, board the plane. And suddenly we realize the plane is not taking off.
What do you mean by that?
It just keeps taxiing the runway. So we're like, what's going on? Captain comes over the loudspeaker, says there's an incoming storm. So he's just been approved for a slightly altered flight path. However, before we can take off, they have to rerun their checks. Okay, fine. Do the checks. An hour later, he comes back on, says, there is a malfunction. It would not impact the flight. However, the airport will not allow them to take off until the malfunction is fixed. This is 2 hours after we got on the damn plane.
Damn.
Exactly. Gets worse though. So they say everybody off the plane.
Oh.
Excuse me? Everybody off the plane. I'm like, okay. We get off the plane. We're sitting around waiting. They say, we'll have an update for you in an hour. In the meantime, I'm trying to figure out how the fuck to get to Greece. We have somebody check to see if there's any type of connecting flights that will get us there in the time frame we need to be there in order to still do our shuttle tour. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. From no airline out of the airport at all. Just this. Slowly but surely, people are starting to get pissed. So we sit in the airport for another 6 hours.
Ooh. Oh, my
waiting
chest.
for this malfunction to be fixed.
Oh, hell no.
Listeners, this is supposed to be a 10-hour flight. We are already at an 8-hour delay. So around midnight, they say, okay, they're almost done fixing the malfunction. At this point, we will start to reboard the plane. And after that, all they have to do is a final check to make sure everything passes, and then we can take off.
Question. Did you say midnight?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, mind you, the plane was supposed to take off at 5:10.
continue. I just had to make sure I understood that. I was like, wait,
Mhm,
whoa. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, midnight. So we reboard, and then they say, okay, they're still fixing the malfunction. It should be only another 30 minutes or so. 30 minutes later, they're saying the same shit. Another 30 minutes later, they say the same shit. So at this point, we've been on the plane now an hour and a half. After already being on the plane for 2 hours, then being off the plane for 6 hours. Okay, we're not making the shuttle. At this point, it's fuck it. If we leave now, we can barely make it to board the cruise ship. Like, get this shit fixed. Let's go. I'm to the point, I don't give a fuck no more. Because I was trying to get our bags off the plane while we waited 6 hours back in the airport. But who has something to say? Good old auntie, who says, quote, I didn't come all this way not to go to Greece. Your ass wasn't supposed to be there to begin with.
Well,
1 and 2, this my money. I paid for this. You paying me back. You know what? My mom's like, let her have it. I'm like, that's the problem. Y'all keep saying, let her do it. And now she's had control for 64 years. Not with me. So we finally take off. They do the check. The check takes another hour and a half. We finally take off. Ask me, what time did the plane take off?
What Quincy, what time did the plane take off?
3:45 a.m.
Jesus Christ.
Hold on, let me get this right. The plane, okay, hold on. Listeners, I want to make sure you understand this. The plane was supposed to take off after 5 p.m., which means she would have had to have been there 2 hours earlier. And you mean to tell me that the plane finally took off 12 hours later?
Damn near.
Okay.
It was a 9-hour, 58-minute delay on what was supposed to be a 9-hour, 45-minute flight. I spent more time in the fucking airport than I did on the plane. So at this point, my mom's like, let's just go. I know we're gonna miss the shuttle. Let's see if you can get your money back. Yeah, that's easy for you to say. You didn't pay for it.
Don't you just love that? Where it's always like, you could just do this, but you're not going through it. Like, I gotta call and go through customer service and just like, I don't want, can I just
Like, but again, had I been allowed to follow my initial instinct, which was to ask them to take our bags off the fucking plane, none of the rest of this shit that I'm about to tell y'all would have happened.
Well.
None of it.
Well,
So I'm in the air. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, we're about to miss this fucking cruise ship. Because we were supposed to land in Athens at 9:55 a.m. And then there was, like I said, the tour, and then we board the cruise ship by 6 p.m. to set sail. We do not land in Athens until 7:55 p.m., almost 2 hours after the cruise ship set sail.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
The entire time we're in the air, I paid $20 for this shitty United Airlines Wi-Fi, trying to reach out to the cruise line to let them know what the situation is. I already know they're not going to hold the cruise ship for 2 hours for 3 people. But can we get on at the next stop? Can somebody make a way to come get us from the airport and speedboat us, helicopter us, something to the ship so we could get on? Of course, Wi-Fi is shitty. Chat keeps dropping. I'm like, fuck. So I have to wait till we land. Finally get in contact with somebody through the chat. And I said, well, can we board the cruise ship at the next stop? They say, unfortunately not. Because of the way the seaport is set up, it's too dangerous. The ship cannot pull all the way into the port. So they have ferry boats to come to the ship, bring people on board, and take them to the coast. It would not be safe for us to do that with our bags.
understood. Okay.
Point taken. The chat agent says, we can get you on at the second stop, which the ship will pull straight into the port for that island. Ma'am, I don't think you understand. We're stranded in an airport right now with no other accommodations. I'm not waiting 2 days to board the cruise ship. So she says, well, I definitely understand. You have travel insurance. We can refund you 10%, which is our policy, and then reach out to the travel insurance, and they will be able to refund you the rest of the money, which I'm still waiting on. I already y'all trust me, I put my claim in, but it takes up to 15 business days to get the refund. Still waiting on it. So I said, okay, thank you so much. We then go to talk to airport information, see if we can get to a United ticket kiosk or speak to a representative in the airport about trying to get a hotel accommodation. You know, be comped something.
Mm-hmm.
They tell us, oh, United only comes in when they know for sure they have a flight incoming or outgoing.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What do you mean? Oh, they don't have a standard kiosk. They just come in 2 to 3 hours before the flight for the day, if they have a flight that day. Oh, okay. When's their next flight? Oh, their next flight leaves out at 11:45 a.m. So what time are they going to be here? Oh, they'll be here by 8 a.m. 12 hours.
Ooh. Oh, God.
Mind you, we landed 5 minutes to 8 p.m. We were stuck in the airport for another 15 hours.
Nigga!
So we waited 12 hours for the kiosk to open. We get up there. My aunt tells me, you don't say anything. I got it. Bitch, this my money. I don't say anything. I don't say anything. My mom said no. My mom is almost to the point of tears because she's missed this tour of the Acropolis that I set up. She's missed the fucking cruise ship. She's stuck with my crazy ass auntie. And she could tell I'm annoyed. My mom is on the verge of tears. I'm like, look, fuck what you got to say. I want her to get us on the next flight possible back to fucking America. I'm over it. Like, this is not what I planned for my mother. So we get up there. I try to get up there to talk to the lady. My aunt shoves me out the way. No, you be quiet. I got it. I got it. Okay, go ahead. These people looking at my aunt like she crazy because she is. She tells them, she demands that they give us some type of compensation. She says, you're going to give us a hotel. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And when you find a flight for all three of us, because you're not going to put us on separate flights, which, yes, that is a actual decent request. And you're going to find seats for all three of us to be next to each other on the flight. Well, okay, now you're pushing it.
Yeah, that's a bit hard.
So this poor little Greek woman is literally looking at my aunt with terror in her eyes, like she is terrified. She said, "Okay, I'll look it up. I'll see what I can do." She's like, I need your flight confirmation number." Guess who has the flight confirmation number? It ain't my auntie. All three tickets is bought at the same time on one card, and that's mine. So as she slides out the way so I can finally talk, I let the lady know. I said, "Ma'am, this was supposed to be for my mother's birthday. Whatever you can do to compensate us and accommodate us until we can make it back to the States, I will be greatly appreciative. We do want to be on the same flight. However, if you can just find two seats next to one another and one elsewhere on the same plane, I'll take it." Because at this point in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm not sitting next to this crazy bitch on the way back. Her whole thing is she wants to be near my mom. Y'all can sit together. I'm going to sit somewhere else on the plane.
Yeah.
So she gets everything in the system. She calls the manager. The manager reviews it. Here's our situation. They're like, okay. They're like, yeah, this is the flight that was 10 hours late. And the lady looks at us like, what do you mean a flight was 10 hours late? He's like, yeah, this is the first group, but there's like 7 other groups from that flight that need accommodations as well. Which we know is true. Why? Because for the 12 hours we were stuck waiting for their kiosk to open, we walked around the airport. It's not like they can kick us out. And there were literally 7 other groups from our flight. And we know they were from our flight because at this point, we've spent almost 24 hours with these motherfuckers. And we're all looking at each other like, you two? Yeah. You heard kiosks don't open till 8, right? Yeah. All right. People camped out on the floor in the airport. They have opened their luggage, pulled out blankets, towels, whatever they could to try to get comfortable, to get some sleep. So they say, this is what we can do for you. We will give you a 50 euro food voucher for any restaurant in the airport. It's good for the food court in the airport, which, yes.
I'm sorry, I don't want to spoil it, but I just have a question that I'm sure everybody's asking. Based on the time that you got that voucher, wasn't everything closed?
Remember, it's now 8 a.m.
Oh, okay.
So everything is back open. Yeah. So I'm like, I just don't want us to be stranded in the airport, right? My aunt says, well, we're not stranded. We could always walk across the street to a hotel. Bitch, who the fuck asked you? Shut the fuck up.
Listeners, I felt that one.
Like, just shut the fuck up. So the lady gives us, like I said, a 50 euro food voucher for the food court, which translates roughly to about 55 US dollars. She also compensates us 1 free night in the Holiday Inn down the highway from the airport. because the Holiday Inn does a free shuttle service from their hotel to the airport and back. Perfect. We also get a complimentary breakfast. And, we were grateful. However, the Holiday Inn cannot check us in until after 12 noon.
Damn.
You telling me we still got hours left in this airport? So we say, okay, fine. We take what we can get. We go get some food. We go to the Burger King in the airport. My aunt walks up, and these folks are looking at her like she's crazy. She is demanding food, not asking, oh, can I have, a Whopper? And, and in Europe, they serve beer at their fast food restaurants. Can I have a beer and a Whopper? You're going to give me 3 Whopper meals, 2 draft beer. And those folks at the counter were looking at her crazy. And the guy looks at her, and Black folks, you know how we have a look where we look at somebody and then we turn and look at another Black person and then look back at that? The Greeks do it too. This man looks at my aunt, cuts his eye over at me. I mouth the words, I'm sorry. He blinks his acknowledgement and looks back at my aunt. We had a whole fucking conversation. Didn't say shit. Finally, when she's done with her rampage, I tell her, go sit down. I'll wait for the food. She goes to sit down. I tell these men, I said, I'm so sorry. We've had, a rough time. She's agitated. I apologize for her behavior. They said, why are you apologizing?
Why?
Well, he got a point, though.
I mean, because they didn't do nothing to us. They just opened up the fucking Burger King.
What'd you say? Nigga, I just clocked in.
Nigga, ma'am, this is a Burger King. Like, what you doing? It's a Burger King.
You just want, all I can do is, you want some cheese with your Whopper? That's about it.
Like, so we get the food. We try to eat, but again, we haven't really eaten anything outside of airplane food. Small ass meals. So we're like, we don't know if we need to sleep, if we need to eat. We're just out of it. Then we spend another 30 minutes outside because my aunt apparently has the best sense of direction. Please hear all the sarcasm and satire in that statement.
Listeners, I'm not even looking at her and I can hear the sarcasm. Like, this bad. Okay. My popcorn has been popped. Continue.
She says, the lady said to get to the shuttle for the hotel, we have to go outside. Well, duh. And there should be a sign that says shuttles. She walks us to the opposite end of the airport. When we walk out, I see a sign that says airport shuttles with an arrow pointing. I'm like, guys, it says airport shuttles. She's already halfway down the sidewalk. Okay, I guess I'll go this way. Oh. Now I am dragging my 50-pound checked bag along with the 40-pound carry-on bag my mom cannot carry because her back hurts, and my own backpack.
Ooh.
I'm exhausted carrying 90 pounds, dragging it around the airport. I finally look at my mom and ask, I said, Mom, what exactly did you put in your carry-on? Listeners, why did she put every pair of shoes she brought for the trip in that damn bag? Ma'am, that's not what the carry-on is for. So you got me dragging all your shoes around fucking Athens. Great. So after we go to the wrong end of the airport, she realizes, oh, ain't no buses down here except for the city buses. She turns around. Then she says, oh, it says hotel right here. We're not looking for hotel. We're looking for shuttle. Y'all, I'm exhausted thinking about it again. Like it's been weeks. I'm getting so fucking mad all over again. Like, so finally, my intuition says, look around the corner. So I leave my bags and I walk where I can still see them, but look around the corner of the airport. And what do I see? A row of shuttle buses lined up with the names of different hotels on the front of the buses. which is exactly where the fuck I thought they were 30 minutes ago. I say, y'all, I see a white bus. It has Holiday Inn written on it in green. She gonna say, well, I knew they was over there. No, the fuck you didn't. You went to the opposite end of the airport. Shut the fuck up and walk that way. Shut up.
Okay, before you continue, I just have to say I don't understand why it's hard for folks, no matter what age, to admit that they're wrong. Like, I don't got a problem saying, my bad, I read the sign wrong, y'all had it. And Queen C can attest to this. I do it all the time. But certain folks are just kind of like, oh, I knew that. Did you? Then why the hell am I lugging 90 pounds around this goddamn airport?
That's 90 that's 90 that I'm dragging. That's not counting the 20 that I had in my own backpack on my back.
Girl was doing weightlifting squats walking around that damn airport.
Y'all, I scrong now. I scrong. So we finally get to the shuttle. The bus driver is the sweetest little Greek guy. He sees us. We're exhausted. He goes, ladies, you leave the bags. You get on the bus. I got the bags. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. He said, hold on. You look a little high. He hops on the bus. He cuts the AC up for us. He said, get on the bus. Get on the bus. It's fine. Thank you. So as he's putting our bags in, my mom was like, man, I wish we could have made the cruise. You know, I had all my outfits prepared. We were going to have so much fun. Here go my aunt complaining. Well, you know, it may not have been that fun because this, that, and the third. Listeners, this woman is complaining about a cruise ship she never boarded. How the fuck do you know?
At this point, it sounds like she's just trying to save face and not be as mad herself about the fact that, because again, as I'm listening to the story, listeners, like even I'm getting upset because it's just when it rains, it pours. It's literally one thing after the other thing after the other thing, but then it doesn't help the fact that your own family member is not helping the situation with her irritation. And it's like, that's not helping us. Like, we're here. Let's try to figure this out.
Exactly. So we get to the hotel. They tell us, like, you know, the airport did call us, but they didn't tell you that you can't check in till, 1 o'clock. We were like, no, they told us at 12. She said, our hotels in Greece are different than America. In America, checkout is by 10 or 11 a.m. In Greece, it's 12 noon. And you can check in at 1 to 2 because it's a quick turnaround for them to clean the rooms.
That is a pretty quick ass turnaround because usually you talking what? We check out at 11 here and our check-in's like 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah. That's
because
quick.
What they do is as people check out, they immediately go to clean the room. It's not a scheduled thing of, okay, you're scheduled to clean rooms at this time and you have to clean all of these rooms. They do that in the morning to go through, but when somebody checks out, they automatically go to clean the room. So we were waiting in the lobby for them to clean 2 rooms so that we could go and rest. And here goes my aunt. I told them the room should be adjoining. Are the rooms adjoining? I'm thinking in my head, please, God, no. I don't want them to have access to me. No. I need to be alone. The lady says, no, unfortunately, we were not able to get adjoining rooms, but you will be very close. Yes. Thank you, Jesus. My aunt, how close? Well, you'll be on the same floor down the hall from one another. That's not close enough. No, that's close enough. Beggars can't be choosers. Shut up. So because they don't know where the third person is sleeping, both of the rooms are double beds. I give my mom and aunt the closest one to the elevator, and I take the one all the way on the end of the hallway. Because I want to be alone. Alone. I get in there, drag my bags in, close the door, and I sit down. I look out the window. I have a beautiful view of these mountains. And I'm just like, that's so nice. Okay, now should I shower? Should I eat? I got to use the bathroom. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to figure out what order do I do everything I need to do in. Then my stomach grumbles. So I said, okay, I'm going to finish eating. Finish eating, immediately went to sleep. I was out,
Oh,
done. Slept hard for 2 hours.
I believe it.
Got up, showered, changed clothes. I was like, all right, let's see what we can make of the day before we have to leave because they had bumped us up to the next flight Tuesday morning. Go down the hall, knock on the door for the room my mom and Aunt are in. My mom opens the door. She's like, oh, I was just getting ready to get in the shower. I was like, I just got out the shower and, threw some on. Walk in the room. My aunt is knocked the fuck out. Cold, sleep like she ain't never slept before. I said she need to be asleep. And I said it under my breath, but of course my mom heard me and she just cut her eye at me and I cut back. And we just nodded and she went on and did what she did. Finally get up, go down to the lobby. We ask him, what is there to do around the area? So the receptionist says, oh, well, there's a bus stop right down on the corner and the bus takes you to the city center of Athens, which is a really big tourist spot. We're like, okay. We're like, well, how much is it to catch the bus? She was like, it's €5 per day.
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say what?
Say
Say
what?
what?
Say what?
Wait, you said per day? She's like, yeah, you get one ticket, you ride all day. What? It's not per ride? No. She's like, again, not America. One ticket per day, per person.
Oh, I wish.
Bet. We catch the bus. We go to City Center. So as we're on the bus, mind you, it's a heat wave everywhere. So it's currently like 104 degrees in Greece.
God.
And it's not it's not humid. It's a dry heat. They're on the water and they have a dry heat.
That's crazy.
The shit was bad to the point that the lady who was standing on the bus in front of me passes out. I see her eyes roll back in her head, and the only thing I could do was move my leg so that her head didn't hit the floor. So her head bounced off my calf, and the guy beside me caught her. And she comes to in like a few minutes. And we're like, ma'am, are you okay? What's going on? And she said, it's too hot. I can't take it. Immediately, I pulled out my passport. People had newspapers. Somebody pulled out like forms they were filling out. We start fanning her. Somebody stood up, gave her their seat. Somebody pulled out a liter of water. Brand new water they had just bought. They said, here, you need this. She said, no, I can't take your water. They said, drink the water. So we're like, ma'am, we have 2 nurses. My mom is a nurse. There was a French couple on the bus as well. And I knew they were French because I heard them talking and I understood a little bit of it. She was also a nurse. So we're like, okay, the nurses are trying to figure out like what's going on. She's like, I'm just hot. My stop is coming up. Like I can get off the bus and, walk home. I'll be okay. You sure? Because you couldn't even stand on the bus, and the bus has AC.
I was getting ready to say, that was about to be my question. Like, so was it hotter on the bus or outside?
Outside.
Oh, hell no. Mm-mm.
The bus at least had a little bit of AC, but it was a lot of people. It was packed like a New York subway.
Ooh. Okay.
But it was still cooler than being outside. But she, she said she was okay. So when the stop came, she got off. And we kept going to the city center. It was probably the best time we had. Walked around for a few hours. There was a park. There was a drummer, a female drummer, played her ass off, and she was playing funk music. So she was playing. She had Uptown Funk on the track. She had James Brown and something else, but she was playing nothing but funk music in the park, drumming her ass off. We're like, this is nice. Walked around. I almost had to box a pigeon because it swooped down
Wait,
too
hold on,
too
hold on,
too
hold on,
close.
hold on. We're not just gonna skip past what you said. I'm about to box a pigeon.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. First of all, you're not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
So what happened was we were sitting on the steps, and like any major big city, there's always pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, pigeons walk like black men. They walk with rhythm. They have a little bop to them, which is funny because when I pointed it out, everybody realized the pigeons are walking to the beat of the music. But one of them, I guess there was like trash or something behind me, and one of them swooped down, and he was literally inches from my shoulder. And I squared up because had he landed on me, I was gonna punch that bitch. But he swooped down behind me. When I turned around, he was at the trash, and I was just like, okay, that's not cool. Like, you know, pigeons are still flying rats. Like, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get back on the bus to go back to the hotel, and the bus driver is like, okay, where's your stop at? And we tell him, we're like, we're at the Holiday Inn near the airport. He said, okay, your stop is SEA, SEA, but they pronounce it SEA. He said, when you see that getting ready to come up, just press the button and I know to let you off. He said, once you press the button, I'll give you instructions for when you get off.
Uh-oh.
So we're like, okay, thank you so much. He was real nice. So we get on, and then he hits a couple other stops on the route. And this one girl tried to get on the front of the bus. Bruh, when I tell you, like, ancestral DNA kicked in, because the bus driver said, get on the back. And we all three black women on that bus jumped and looked at him. I was like, oh, no. That sound like civil rights. That sound like Jim Crow in your voice.
He said that sound like civil rights.
That sound like Jim. That shit sounded like Jim Crow. He said, get on the back. But it was white girls trying to get on the front of the bus. And clearly he did not want that because he had the front door taped off. He had the aisle to get to the front door taped off. It was like do not enter signs. Like he did not want anybody near him. So she got on the back of the bus and we took off. Finally get to our stop. And we realized the bus stop looks different. So he says, okay, so when you get off, your hotel is on the other side of the highway. So there's an overpass bridge. You have to walk across the bridge to get to the hotel. So we realize what happens is the road splits, it forks off because the highway goes underneath it. So there's an overpass and the road splits on two sides. So we got picked up near the hotel, but we got dropped off on the other side. We're like, okay, thank you so much. We appreciate your help. We get off the bus, we start walking. Listeners, pay attention. We start walking. I always walk behind whatever group I'm with. I have to be able to see people because I keep count. I'm very much a mother bear. Mr. Smith will tell you. I'm always behind the group.
He is. That is facts.
Because I have to be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yeah, we're all here. Okay, we're good. I also look out for danger to warn the people in front of me. So I'm walking, and on the corner of the sidewalk, the corner we have to turn, there's this giant divot carved out for wheelchair accessibility. I see it before I could open my mouth to say, watch out to my mom and my aunt, who is military marching down the sidewalk, has stepped in the fucking divot. Bow. Fell face first in the fucking street. Right knee hits. She thinks she's going to fall on her face on the right side, so she covers her right side, only for her body to rotate when her knee hits, and she ends up falling on her left side, and her head bounces on the fucking cement in the middle of the street.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Ooh.
My mom and I immediately take off running, like, oh my God. We take off running. I look and see headlights headed towards where my aunt is laying in the street. I pass up my mom to go and stand in the middle of the fucking road, put myself in danger to stop this car. Because I don't, she getting on my nerves, but the last thing I need is my aunt to be run over because then we're never going to fucking leave Greece. So my mom is helping her out the street. The guy looks and realizes there's a person in the road. So once we're all back on the sidewalk, he pulls up and he's speaking Greek to us. And I know he's asking if she's okay. And she says, I'm fine, I'm fine. And he realizes, oh, they speak English. Let me tell y'all something. He switched to English so damn fast. And a lot of them over there do it. It's crazy. He's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just fell, I'll be all right. He said, if you need to go to the hospital, I'll take you to the hospital. She's like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. So he's like, all right, well, y'all be safe out here. He drives off. We make it back to the hotel. She's laughing and everything. We think she's fine. So she's like, yeah, I got a timeshare out here with Wyndham Hotels. Let me look to see if they got some availability. Because if so, we could push our flight back to the regular return time and try to make the most of, your mom's first time out the country. I'm like, you know what? I'm not mad at that suggestion. Let's look up to see what we can find.
Look at Auntie actually being helpful for once.
For once, right? Like that's the least you can do after everything else.
Mm.
But honestly, the only reason my mom agreed was so that she did not immediately go to sleep after hitting her head. Because y'all know people fall. If they fall hard and go to sleep, sometimes they don't wake back up, especially when they're older. Again, my aunt is 64. So we're downstairs for a couple hours at the bar on their computers looking things up. So we kind of have a plan of action. We just have to wait for things to open up in the morning so we can call and see if we can put this plan in place. Y'all, we wake up the next morning for breakfast. My aunt has a knot the size of a fist coming out her eyebrow.
God.
Her whole left side from her hip all the way up to right below her armpit is bruised, and it is blue and purple, and it is swelling. It's growing. We're watching it minute by minute get bigger. And then, of course, she's limping. She's like, oh, I'm dizzy. I'm nauseous. Immediately, I said, you have a concussion. No, it's my diabetes. Shut up, woman. You have a concussion. I don't have to be a medical expert to know that you have a fucking concussion.
I was about to say, it's 1 + 1 = 2.
Then it's fucking 2. So the staff at the hotel could tell she was not feeling well. They offered to call their doctor in to check on her. She refuses it. Ma'am. We checked the airplane ticket. We are set to leave that morning at 11:45 is when the flight is supposed to depart. So we're like, we don't have time to get her to a hospital. Like, we want the doctor to come in and look at her before we go. She has refused the offer 3 times. I said, okay, 3 strikes, you're out. They're not going to offer it again. She demands we go upstairs and pack our things so that we can get to the airport. Ma'am, no. At this point, my mom is fed up. She said, you need to shut up and you need to sit down.
Ooh, okay. I'd have heard Mama C go off. When she says something like that, I get scared. So you're right. Continue.
Because my mom is like me. Like, she has this soft, soothing, loving voice. So when she turn up, she turn up. So to the point where you scare a retired army captain to sit in the fuck down, which is what my aunt is. My aunt was like, okay, you got it. What we gonna do? I said, Ma, let me do it. She said, you got it. She said, I know your intuition is strong. Do what you need to do. So I pretended like I was packing my things while they went to pack theirs. I got on the hotel phone and called United Airlines headquarters. Explain the situation to the representative. The rep was like, well, ma'am, you have, a non-refundable, non-changeable ticket. I said, they've already changed it for us once. Here's the situation. Laid it all out there. She said, ma'am, let me put you on hold. I'm going to go speak to my manager and see what they can do to help. 15 minutes later, this lady got back on the phone with me. She said, your flight has been changed so that you can take your aunt to the hospital. Your flight now leaves tomorrow at the same time. Ma'am, God bless. Hang up, go tell them. My aunt was like, well, you charging up these folks phone, they gonna charge us for the phone call. Ma'am, I called United, the same company that compensated us the room.
And
It's
for that,
going
and for that matter, it's your money.
you know, it wasn't nobody money at that point. United owed us that. So
Well, true, but I'm saying like the original reservation and everything, like you said earlier, it was your reservation. It was your it was
it was
continue.
my gift to my mother who had turned 60 and never been out the country a day in her life. It was a mommy and me trip. The only other me that should have gone would have been my sister. My aunt, again, y'all, invited herself and made my mom feel guilty if she refused it. I don't play that shit. So at this point, I go off. Now, my aunt has never seen me go off. I said, okay, you want me to do it your way? I'm going to do it your way. Oh, no, 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 no. Shut up. I'm going to do it your way. I'm going to get my bags. And then what? What are we doing? Because I'm sick of this shit. She said, okay, what? You know, you want to be in control. You got the control now. What? So my mom said, okay, we can check with the hotel to see if we can stay another night and see if they can reach out to the kiosk at the airport for United to see if they'll compensate us another night because we now have a medical emergency. Because my aunt's not fit to fly because she busted her fucking head on the cement. We're like, okay. So we store our bags behind the receptionist desk at the hotel. I'm calling the airport. They say, unfortunately, we're not able to compensate you another night because this event is not our fault. Which I knew that would be the case. My mom was like, fuck it, pulls out her credit card, pays for another night in the hotel. Then we get a cab and we go to a hospital. The hospital is a whole nother adventure.
Oh Lord.
I told you, I gave y'all the big details, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the hospital. They're like, okay, well, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, first things first, I need a wheelchair. Because at this point, my aunt's not even able to stand up on her own. Like she tries to stand up and she's stumbling. I need a wheelchair. I get a wheelchair. I roll her in. My mom is zooming in with the security who's taking them to the waiting room. I'm trying to go after them. The security guard stops me and says, only one allowed back with the patient. You wait outside.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
And when he said outside, he did not mean in the waiting room. He meant outside where they had the chairs in the traffic circle where the ambulances pull up.
Damn.
I had to wait outside in 105-degree heat with the heat index of 120.
This shit gets worse. My God, this is just getting worse. And okay, continue.
I'm waiting out there for 2.5 hours. I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong with my damn aunt that they are looking at her for 2.5 hours? Well, turns out, as I get the other half of the story from my mom coming out saying, they called a cab. We have to go to a different hospital. What the fuck happened? She says, oh, it only took them 30 minutes to assess her. But what happened was they told her to take a number. And when your number is called, you go back and the doctor will see you, whichever one is available first. The issue is, y'all, we are in Greece and we are Americans who do not speak Greek. And they are calling the numbers in Greek. And the Greek people are taking advantage of the fact that the Americans don't know the language and jumping ahead of them in line.
Mm.
And the reason they figured this out is because one of the Greek people said something about the Americans. And when God gives you that spirit of discernment, that you can understand many tongues. My mom said she knew what they were saying, that they did not want the filthy Americans to be seen before they were. So they took advantage of the fact they did not know the Greek language to continuously jump ahead of them in line. Finally, my mom goes up to the receptionist. She's like, look, we don't speak Greek. She said, I only speak English. One of the other ladies in the waiting room waiting to be seen understood her. She said, I speak English. Let me help you. She said, what do you need to tell them? So my mom explained the situation. She said the lady's eyes got big and was like, what do you mean you've been waiting 2 hours? And she's like that. So she explained it to the receptionist, who runs to get the doctor. The doctor comes in, my mom says, speaking in Greek. My mom repeats, I only speak English. The doctor said, no problem. I will try my best. They take her back. They assess her. As they assess her, the doctor is getting madder and madder and madder. And she said, how dare they allow this woman to sit out here like this for 2 hours? They're like, ma'am, she might have a concussion. She definitely has a hematoma, and there could be some internal damage. We need to get her to another hospital that can perform a CT scan, an X-ray, and an ultrasound. We don't have that technology here. My aunt is talking about she wants to go to a military hospital. The doctor says everyone in my family is military, and I wouldn't even recommend that hospital to them.
Wow.
Thank you. So they call a taxi. We get her ass in a taxi, and we get ready to go to the second hospital. Now, while all of this is happening inside, from my mom's perspective, outside, again, I'm out there sitting in 105-degree heat. It wasn't no better outside. It was entertaining. So
I bet.
So I have my handheld fan. So I'm fanning myself. Whenever the breeze doesn't blow, I'm fanning myself. There's this little tiny little Greek lady that just walks out the hospital. She's waiting for a cab to pull up. And she sees me and she smiles and she looks at the fan and she nods. So I smile back and nod, and she comes and she sits beside me. So I fan both of us. And then her cab pulls up and she stands up and she smiles at me again and she nods and I nod back and she gets in the cab and the cab takes her wherever she's going. Again, you can communicate with people without speaking their language. She saw my fan. I fanned her. She thanked me. She left. The second thing I see, or I should say hear, in the emergency room is a whole lot of yelling, fussing. Turns out they were kicking people out of the ER who were trying to hog the AC because they have a strict 1 plus the patient rule, which is why I had to go outside. The doctor who went to see my aunt realized that people were also hogging the AC and kicked them out. There was a group of like 20 people that walked out of the ER. But then we hear yelling, fussing, cussing, things being thrown. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? I'm looking at the people around. They're looking at me. We're trying to peek inside the emergency room. We're like, what is happening? They closed the inside door so you could not see what was happening. Next thing I know, cop car pulls up. 2 female officers get out. They go in the emergency room. 2 minutes later, they come out. I swear, this man was all of like 5 feet tall. And he walks out with his hands behind his back and his head down. This little motherfucker was in there having a fit because he did not want to be sitting outside in the heat. So he fucked the emergency room up. He threw papers. He threw chairs. He cussed the staff out. He hit somebody. We're like, what the fuck? They throw his little ass in the back of the cop car, speed off, skirt, gone. Like, well, that's entertaining.
You know?
About another hour later, while I'm still sitting out there, ambulance comes around because people are dropping like flies from heat stroke in Greece. They come drop somebody off at the emergency room. They get ready to leave, but the way the traffic circle is, it looks like the number 0.
Mhm.
So it's not a perfect circle. It's more oval, and it's a very tight turn for a standard car. So what the ambulance has to do in order to get out of the traffic circle is they have to reverse and then do a tight turn to get out of the traffic circle. There's also our cars parked on the long side of the traffic circle. Tell me why the ambulance side swiped the car and kept going.
They said, listen, we getting out. You ain't supposed to be parking here like this, so we gonna get out.
And we knew the ambulance hit the car because there was a dent in the back bumper that wasn't there before the ambulance came, and we heard the boom. So we look, the corner of the bumper is fucked up. The ambulance stops, and then I just see this from the back window, like the guy telling him, go, go, go. So they pull off. I'm like, yo, are you fucking serious?
That's crazy.
So then we get to the second hospital, also overrun with people, but their waiting room is inside. Praise God. Praise God. So the first thing I do, because we have to walk my aunt there, and we get her to a place where she can at least sit down. So I run into the emergency room. I ask the security guards at the door, I say, can I get a wheelchair? And the guard is like, yeah, sure. This man beside me is like, you have to wait for your number to be called. I said, I'm getting a wheelchair. It's not for me. And turned around. The security guard just laughed. And he came out with a wheelchair. I said, thank you so much. And I go and put my aunt in the wheelchair and I roll her back in. The guy who yelled at me to wait till my number is called sees my aunt in the wheelchair, looks at me. I look at him. He puts his head down in shame and he walks to the other side of the waiting room. Yeah, you should. So they were very helpful. We get her signed in, we get our number, and we're waiting to be called. One of the receptionists is looking at my aunt. Now our number was like E8 or something, and for the E's they're only on E1.
Oof.
Then they go to E2, and it's like every 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
They
Okay.
So they get to E3. We've now been sitting there 45 minutes. The receptionist comes out and she looks at my aunt and she said, can you wait any longer? And my aunt says, no, I can't wait. She said, okay, give me a few minutes. She goes back into the emergency room, talks to the x-ray tech who's back there. They said, bring her back here. So they bring her back. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, what on earth is going on with this woman? Like, she is getting weaker and weaker by the second. I'm like, this shit is crazy. So while I'm in there, there's another family that comes in, and it's a little old lady that walks in. Now, you know, in America, when an older person walks in with a cane, somebody typically will move so they can have a seat.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why none of these people moved. They looked at her as if, how dare you think I'm supposed to move for you? I stood up. I was sitting on a bench. I stood up so this lady could sit down. And she goes, oh, and she's saying thank you in Greek. And she sits down and she scoots all the way over and pats the little sliver of bench. She said, you sit, you sit. And I said, oh, thank you. So I sat down and she said, you're very nice. And her kids are American. They were from Michigan. Turns out her husband, their dad, had heat exhaustion, passed out. He got rolled into the ER. He was in the back getting pumped full of IV fluids and had ice on his chest to try to cool him down. This man is 90 years old. The little lady sitting beside me was 86. So they're really nice. They're talking and everything. And I let them know, my aunt is back there. She fell and, and this little old lady she said, oh, she'll be okay. And she passed my lap And then she puts her head on my shoulder. I was just like, this is somebody's sweet little like mama. Like she was just the kindest old lady. So we get through that. We're there at that hospital for an additional 2.5 hours. So total 5 hours in 2 hospitals in Greece. They do all her scan. First off, this hospital looked like an insane asylum. It looked like, I swear it's like one of those wartime hospitals from World War I or II. And it's just like had new technology added to it, but the building itself has never been updated.
Mhm.
Like that shit looked straight out of a video game. But they have the technology, they do the scans. They say, okay, your, you know, your aunt has a concussion. Well, I knew that. She has an abdominal hematoma, which is some bleeding, which is causing the bruising. And she has a bruised kidney.
Damn.
Damn.
Or like, okay, she's safe to fly? Oh yeah, she's safe to fly. Great. We get a taxi. We try to get a taxi to the hotel because we're like, we're leaving out this country first thing in the morning. Like, we're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything else. We're going to the hotel. We're going the fuck to sleep and we're getting the fuck out of here. We go outside to try to hail a cab. Hailing a cab in Greece is like hailing a cab in New York. They don't stop for black people. Like, bruh.
Yeah.
So we finally get one to stop. And we said, sir, can you take us to the Holiday Inn at the Sia bus stop? He says, unfortunately, I already have a paid fare that I'm going to. I wish I could help. We said, we understand. Thank you. He continues on to pick up the paid fare that's already called him. The second cab stops and he pulls over, but he gets out because he parks. He gets out to go to the convenience stand across the street to get water and food. So we're like, okay, well, he's doing that. So we find a third cab. He's dropping somebody off at the hospital. So we're thinking, okay, we got it. So we go to him. We're like, sir, can you take us to the Holiday Inn? He says something in Greek. Again, remember the earlier thing I said about God gives you the spirit of discernment, the ability to speak 1,000 tongues. Before he translated it in English, my mother and I both knew what he said. So my mom was like, you know what, that's fine. And got ready and walked away because she was about to cry. I looked this man in the face. I said, so you don't want this cab fare? There were two Greek women who were also trying to get a cab. And they figured if we didn't take this cab, they were going to jump in. They walked away. The lady who got out the cab heard what he said, turned around, looked him in his face, and slammed the door in his face.
Damn.
And then walked back off, looked at us, shook her head, and walked away. He then translates what he says in English because his window is open. I don't want your kind in my cab. I'm afraid of you people.
Hey, boy, ain't no fucking way, boy. Boy, ain't no 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 fucking way, boy.
Hey, yo. Come on, man. Come on.
So my mom's to the point of tears. My mom grew up in the Midwest in the 60s and 70s where racism was prevalent. Immediately took her back to her childhood. So finally, my mom walks up to the cab driver who just finished paying for his water and his snacks at the convenience stand. And she says, and he's seen the whole thing. She says, sir, we just want to go back to our hotel. Can you please take us? We have money. And he said, this is your family that you're with? She said, yes, my sister just came out of the hospital. We just want to go back to our hotel. He said, go get in my cab. So we hop in his cab. He takes us back. He charges us €4 less than the cab driver who took us to the first hospital. So I give him 30 euros because he charged us 24. I give him 30. And he got ready to pull out his bag to give me change. I said, no, you keep it. Because that was the most sincere, thing we had since everything started, from the outside community, outside of the hotel and outside of the airport. He was the nicest person to us. So finally get ready. They said she's safe to fly. We get on the plane. We come home. And I said to my mom, I said, I am so sorry that was your first experience out the country. Look at the bright side. You got a passport for the next 10 years, girl. You better travel.
Listen, Southwest goes everywhere now, nigga.
I wish they went to Europe because shit. So right now she's planning next year to go to Spain. It's like a cruise that stops in the south of Spain, south of France, and northern Italy. And she's going with my aunt. And she's like, Queen C, I want you to be my roommate. I said, hell no. I said, Mama, I love you, but I will never travel with your sister again. Ever. So, moral of the story, trust your intuition. Always follow your intuition. Because I had several gut instincts, and my aunt and her big ass mouth shut me down. Her lesson for that trip was to shut up and sit down. And when she did not do it, God did it for her by making her fall on her face.
Well, damn. Overall, listeners, I just want to say this story has literally has had just ebbs and flows, hills and valleys, peaks. I'm sorry, I just felt bad. At least up to the point where you got the grease, I was like, it can't get worse. And even though
but it could, and it did.
I mean, even when I knew, like when me, you, and Brother X had our family chat just to check on you, and you were telling us some of the main points, even I'm like, okay, it can't get worse than this. And then the next time you text us about your aunt, and I was like, how in the hell does it keep getting worse?
Bruh, let me tell you, I called when I finally got back stateside, I called the travel insurance company. So I explained the situation because they say they can only give you 100% refund for extreme circumstances. So that's like a family death or somebody got COVID, therefore you couldn't make the trip. Or, just like very extenuating circumstances. I told the lady the story of what happened, and it took me a good 10 minutes. Now, I gave, y'all the full detail with this bonus episode telling the story. I took 10 minutes to tell this lady what happened. She said, ma'am, I've been working in travel insurance for 20 years. I've never heard anything like that in my life. And I said, well, ma'am, if I did not have the email proof, one, from the airline for every time they pushed the flight back, and two, I have documented medical information from my aunt if you need that as well. I have documented proof. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't even believe me. And it happened to me. She said, I'm keeping real. I ain't heard no shit like this before. She said, you are entitled to up to 100% refund because none of this was your fault.
Yeah.
Said, all I wanted to do was give my mom a birthday present.
Yes, and that's it. Like you said, it's crazy because just the beginning of it, right? When you talk about the fact that the flight was delayed for 9 hours
and plus 58 minutes, almost 10 hours on a 10-hour flight.
And you're talking, and again, like I want to make sure that I keep the spotlight on you. I'm just gonna say, in one instance, I didn't even go through that much trouble going to, I want to say it was Carousel, and I believe my flight was supposed to leave at 6:30 the day before a flight from Miami. We were supposed to fly from BWI to Fort Lauderdale, then take a car to Miami International, and then fly out the next day. And because of rainstorms and crazy whatever, our flight was delayed for, I want to say, 5 hours. We then rebooked onto some other type of flight that left at 6 a.m. But again, that was what, 5 hours? You're talking 9 hours before you get on another 9-hour flight, and then you still didn't even get to the hotel. That's insane.
We literally spent, when we calculated it, we spent 14 hours at Dulles before finally getting on the 9.5-hour flight to only end up spending another 14 hours at the Athens International Airport. We were literally stuck either in an airport or on a plane for almost 48 hours.
I don't lost my senses. There would be, and listeners, let it be known, and Screen C can let you know, I am a very morally sound person. Even when I am frustrated or like whatever, you'll see it in my face, but I'm very quiet about it because I'm just like, you know what? Let's just get through it. Same way with Queen C, same way with Brother X. All of us are kind of the same. But for 48 hours, as morally sound as I am, I ain't gonna lie. There's certain points in the story where I'd have been like her, I'd have been ready to snap. And I probably would have snapped a couple times. So,
and I can understand her frustration, but what you're not gonna do is tell me sit down and shut up or I'm talking too much. Bitch, this my money. She still owe me $500.
Well, Auntie,
I want my money. Where's my money? You still owe me $500.
Auntie, in the immortal words of the Grove Sisters, hands up, cash out. But listeners, we're gonna close on that note because transparent moment for this episode. Make sure you have discernment in just about anything that you do, and listen to your gut feelings. If it don't feel right, listen to it.
It ain't right.
Because, hey, trust me, there's been a couple times, and maybe that'll come out in future episodes in the next season. We'll know. We got to talk about the X, figure it out. But just listen to your gut and understand that not everything needs to be done at that moment. If it don't feel right, just let it go and move on to the next thing. You, as Pop say, you win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day. But if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at the TNT Pod 123 on Twitter, Truth and Transparency Pod on Instagram, Truth and Transparency Pod on TikTok, the Truth and Transparency Podcast on Facebook, the Truth and Transparency Podcast on YouTube. And if you have any questions, comments, or you just want to send a comment about how crazy this story was and the ebbs and flows, and just give your appreciation to Queen C for being able to bring it back to us and be safe and sound on this accord, because we need all of our family together, you can reach out to us at truthandtransparencypod123@gmail.com. That's truthandtransparencypod123@gmail.com. And for Brother X, the culture scientist, Queen C, and myself, Mr. Smith, if this podcast gets no bigger than what it already is, we are forever grateful. And we'll see you guys on the next bonus episode. Peace.
And fuck United Airlines, damn it.
Whoa.